Welcome back to Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller. Today's show features another story from the master of prose suspense, Cornell Woolrich. He's the writer whose work has been most prominently featured here. Not surprising, given that during the 1940s, almost everything Woolrich wrote sold to one Hollywood studio or another. No single author provided more grist for the film noir movement. Today's offering comes from Paramount in 1950, No Man of Her Own, based on the novel I Married a Dead Man, which Woolrich published under his most well-known pseudonym, William Irish. Now, that horrific original title was a bit too much for Paramount, especially given that the project was tailored for Barbara Stanwyck. No Man of Her Own was also the title of a 1932 Paramount picture starring Carole Lombard and Clark Gable. So the studio decided to recycle it, clearly marking this as a woman's picture, which I suspect is the reason it doesn't show up on lists of the era's great noir films, although I think it is. It's certainly one of the best Woolrich adaptations ever, and it points up one of the most notable things about Woolrich. In a genre seen to be male-dominated, where even female writers like Dorothy Hughes and Patricia Highsmith mostly wrote about men, Woolrich often had women as his main characters. No Man of Her Own may have been sold to audiences as a maternal melodrama, but it's got all the plot twists and paranoia you can stuff into one 98-minute thriller. One of the reasons the film works so well is that it's adapted by a pair of female screenwriters, Catherine Turney and Sally Benson. Male screenwriters adapting Woolrich tend to fixate on plot, and with Woolrich you can quickly find yourself straining to rationalize outlandish twists or abandoning them altogether for the sake of logic. Here, telling the far-fetched tale of an abandoned and pregnant woman who is mistaken for the newlywed wife of an accident victim, Turney and Benson seem to relish the improbabilities, probably because they knew they were writing it for the greatest actress in Hollywood. If anybody can pull an audience past nagging incredulity and gaping plot holes, it's Barbara Stanwyck. She'll make you believe anything, and there's no higher compliment you can give an actor. That's why directors and writers had the utmost respect for her. Catherine Turney is not a well-known name to movie fans, but as a contract writer at Warner Brothers during the 1940s, she made invaluable contributions to many women's pictures, typically doing the toughest work, restructuring novels and plays for the screen, which she did on such classics as Mildred Pierce, The Man I Love, and Of Human Bondage, although a male writer usually got the bigger credit. Her co-writer, Sally Benson, was a noted essayist who got her Hollywood break from one of the best, Alfred Hitchcock. He hired her to authenticate Teresa Wright's role in 1943's Shadow of a Doubt. Benson had made her name with a collection of stories about a teenage girl called Junior Miss. She'd also drawn on her own youthful background to create her most famous work, Meet Me in St. Louis. Now, if you're making a woman's picture, you couldn't do much better than having Mitchell Leisen direct it. Back in the 40s, Leisen was as highly regarded as any director in the business. His name is prominent on posters as the leading actors. He was particularly adept with female stars like Claudette Colbert, Jean Arthur, Paulette Goddard, Olivia de Havilland, and Barbara Stanwyck. Later, his luster dimmed, at least among critics, after Preston Sturges and Billy Wilder made disparaging comments about how Leisen had handled their scripts. No Man of Her Own is Leisen's sole noir, but he orchestrates this dark and difficult material beautifully, getting great support from DP Daniel Fapp. He'd already shot 7 pictures for Leisen at this point, most of them romantic comedies. With the noir wave cresting in 1949, its peak year in Hollywood, it was no surprise that these two veteran talents knew precisely how to handle this one. Co-star John Lund was also a Leisen regular, the director obviously seeing something in the actor that the actor didn't see in himself. "I look best from a great distance and in bad light," Lund once said, I have a peculiar face, an odd walk, and about as much sex appeal as a goat. I'm sure you will have your own opinion. Also featuring the return to the screen of Broadway and silent movie star Jane Cowell, a brief but vital turn by Phyllis Thaxter, and the debut of the reliably detestable Lyle Betker, here is No Man of Her Own.